Hello, everyone, and welcome back to HUMHR Career Insights. We have an amazing schedule coming up this year, and before anything else, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening and following HUMHR Career Insights on Spotify, Apple, or whichever channel you prefer. I met a listener who said they follow on Amazon Music. Thank you for watching on YouTube, which is our new platform. Please do subscribe on YouTube. We now have video, so you can watch there if you prefer. Thank you for sharing this podcast with your networks. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to HUMHR Career Insights. And if you have been listening to us since season 1, you will remember season 2, which is the power of storytelling. And in that season, we were talking to different professionals about their career journeys. And in the middle of season 4, I have done a throwback to season 2. And you will know why when you hear this story. And I was wanting to get my friend Rochelle, welcome. I have been wanting to get it on HUMHR Career Insights since that season, and we were never able to do it. And this time we happened to be in the same place at the same time. So I'm trying something new, different format, different everything, just so that you can hear this story that I have always found inspiring. So, Rochelle, welcome to HUMHR Career Insights, and thank you for allowing me. I had to drag her in. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to have this conversation with you, and just for the listeners and the viewers to hear your amazing story.
Thank you for having me over here, and thank you for insisting, because this is definitely not my forte.
I know that. That is why I was like, I have to try and get it while we are in the same place at the same time. Because if I wait for you to be away, I'm gonna be trying to contact you, but I'm really busy, and and this will never happen. So, Rochelle, first things first. Can you? I usually do an intro, but I would like us to. Can you just do an intro of who you are, what it is that you do, and why you do what you do?
Great. Well, thank you again for having me here. My name is Rachel Mikanagu, and I am currently the director of the International NGO Forum in Burkina Faso. So these are humanitarian NGOs working in Burkina Faso, and I run the forum. I have been a humanitarian since 2010. And I've worked in several continents and different countries as well, in the Caribbean, in Africa, in Canada, North America. I forgot to answer your question, is why I do
Yeah.
what I do. It's because I want to help people, and that has driven me. And we'll hear that more as we go in the story. We'll hear why I have moved to one career to this career. Is because I've been driven to help the most vulnerable.
Okay. And Rochelle and I met in Haiti. And if you listen to prior episodes, you will know that I always say, Rochelle, the people that I met in Haiti, incredible human beings who really do that. Their purpose is to help the most vulnerable in the world.
Absolutely.
And they go all over the world
Yes.
just for that purpose. And I just found it so inspiring. That was my time in Haiti. And I speak about it in prior seasons, where I'm like, that is where I met my purpose, really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes, me too.
Yeah. So, listeners, and if you are watching this now, this is one of those incredible people that I speak about, and I want to hear the story. So, Rochelle, I did not know that you started off in the finance world. She started off in Wall Street. So can you tell us about that? Why did you leave global markets? I mean, everybody talks about, I'd love to work for Wall Street. We all know Wall Street. And we worked in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in the finance industry. So why did you leave global markets? First, tell us about that part of your career, and why you left it.
Okay. So, before I answer that question, maybe I should answer or tell you why I even joined finance. So, and it reminds me a bit of your story, Batchet, because I heard your story. I can't remember which season. I was in high school, and in high school, especially the French system, you choose a certain track. And so I found myself in this track, which was economics. And when I came to the US, there was only one sort of track to do, or so I thought as an 18-year-old. And so I joined and I did finance. I liked math, so I did, I did pretty well. And that's how I ended up doing, because I did not like accounting, unlike you. I was terrible at it, but finance was great. And so I joined after I finished my master's in Columbia University. Um, and off I went and I started, glamorously working on Wall Street, having no clue what Wall Street was all about. And I think that after a few years, I realized that this was not for me. This is not within my purpose. It does not align with my values and my purpose. And therefore I decided to leave. And I remember just before leaving, I was talking to a colleague and I said, you know what, Tom, I'm not even good at it. I don't like it and I'm not even good at it. You have to be driven by wanting to make money or wanting others to make money. And that was not, I wanted to help people and I've always wanted that. So I left.
And then you left. I like that. It's always making that decision, right?
Yeah.
To let me leave. And when you look back and say, and then I left, what was that defining moment that say, today, Rochelle, is the day that you leave?
So I think that it circumstances also help. I had a contract of 3 years and I could have carried on, but I knew deep down I was dying. I literally was dying. I hated my life. I barely saw anything. I could not enjoy people, family, life. I remember working like an animal. We had to work 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I pulled all-nighters. And I was just living such an unhealthy lifestyle. And I saw myself, I was like, this is not what I've envisioned for my life. And so, they asked me if I wanted to carry on, and I said, no, I didn't. So I left.
Okay, and then what followed from there?
So, as you mentioned, I would say 8 months within joining the bank that I was working for, I was posted in Singapore. Posted in Singapore and also had certain deals working in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And so when I arrived, I spent 13 months there. I was beside myself because Hong Kong, especially Singapore, actually, was the most beautiful island I'd ever seen. The weather was perfect, and I could live again. I was able to enjoy life. I was able to sing again, join a choir, do all kinds of sports, just enjoying life, just doing things outside of work. And so I had a taste of that. And so when I went back, going back to New York,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is definitely not what I've envisioned for the rest of my life. And so when I left, there was no other place for me to go except Singapore. I was like, you know what? I want to go back. I want to see if it was just, because I was a banker, or there was truly something out there that I've enjoyed doing. And so I literally, still remember calling the airlines and booking a one-way ticket. And it felt so weird to pack because I didn't know what to bring, what to leave.
Yeah.
And I just packed and, off I went in an adventure. Of course, I prayed about it and I felt the Lord giving me Hebrews 11:8 when Abraham left the country without knowing where he was going, without knowing what was awaiting him. And that's what I did.
Mm. I I then want to talk about that. Uh, the defining moments and what makes you make those decisions, right? I hear you say you prayed about it and you got a message, right?
Mhm.
So has that been the anchor of like your whole career, all the pivots that we're going to talk about? Has that been defining moments?
Absolutely. I think that has been not just an anchor, but it's been my life. I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for prayer, if it wasn't for the Father, my Heavenly Father,
Mm.
and talking to Him about what He wants me to do, where He wants me to go. Yeah. And so prayer has been foundational to everything that I'm going to be talking about today.
Okay, great. Have you found that, just on that issue of faith, have you found that in organizations where you've worked, so you started off in Wall Street, right? And then we're going to talk about the humanitarian, the second chapter, the chapter that you're in.
Yeah.
But have you found it a challenge? Have you found it problematic? Okay, let me use that word in the corporate world, being driven by your faith, or at least like um attesting to it or testifying to it or saying, this is my decision because of such and such, in the corporate world particularly.
Mm. Um, I was pretty junior as a banker. I was a financial analyst, so I wasn't an MD. I wasn't a managing director. I was, a push. I don't know how you say this in English, like a pushover, a push paper.
Oh, you by the way, Russia, how many languages do you speak?
I speak six. Yeah, six.
Okay.
I claim to speak six. At one point, I did.
We're going to talk about that. But if you feel, I know French is your first language. So, yeah. So if you feel the French word says it better, please go ahead and use the French word. So what's the French word you wanted to use?
Oh gosh, it's you're sort of, I don't even know in French. You are just un ouvrier, like a worker.
Yes.
Plant, it's a factory, it's a
Yeah.
huge factory, and you're just a worker,
Okay.
and you're supposed to do. So I think at that level, it wasn't there weren't major clashes. However, because we were working constantly, I remember just, at one point, it's a good thing my faith was drying. And when I went to Singapore, I it reanimated. Something happened there. And so when I came back wanting and depending wholeheartedly on prayer. I remember I have visions of myself taking the metro, the subway in New York, and just writing in my prayer journal, standing inside the metro, jam packed, because I had to had like it was so important for me to have that connection with the Lord, with the Father, that I just could not, because I knew if I didn't do that, my day was just going to be haywire. So yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to touch on that a bit because in one of the episodes, one of the seasons, it must have been the first or the second season. I think it was the first season. I talk about managing transitions. Season 1, I talk about managing transitions and how to navigate transitions. And one of the things I do talk about is how you have to have something to rely on. You have to have an anchor. And for me, I talk about it being my faith and prayer being that anchor, right? But it was interesting to me to hear you say,
Yes.
yeah. So I just like to talk about that a bit in the sense that it's important to have something that drives transitions.
Mhm.
It's important to have something to anchor you, to hold on to help make those decisions
Yes.
when you are managing transitions. And maybe for some people it's not our prayer, it's not our faith, but
Mhm.
there has to be something that keeps you going. There has to be something that keeps you grounded.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that word,
Yeah,
grounded.
grounded.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Even on the metro.
Even on the metro.
Keep you grounded on the metro.
The subway, the New York
Yeah,
subway.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So back to maybe we fast forward to the second chapter
Sure.
of the humanitarian
Mhm.
aspect of you.
Mhm.
How did you then move and how did you become a humanitarian?
Humanitarian. So um, going back to leaving the bank,
Mhm.
I knew I've always known that I was eventually going to join the development world.
Yeah.
And at that point, I don't think that I knew that there was a difference between humanitarian and development, but I knew that is what I wanted to do. Since I've always known that, I think since I joined and I did my master's, I just didn't it wasn't very clear to me the career path on how to get
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And so I remember, backtracking a bit, I I applied. I applied to the World Visions. I applied to so many NGOs, thinking that they were going to jump and take me because here I am. I studied in New York, in the U.S., in an Ivy League school. I had enough experience. I knew that they were going to take me.
Yeah. Grab you. I mean, hey, what's there to think about?
I spoke so many languages.
Yes.
And it was a shock to me that I did not even receive, like, not even a reply of saying, hey, we've received your application. But unfortunately, we're not, taking in any more applications. None of that. So I decided, I was like, okay, that's fine. For now, we'll keep it at the back burner.
Yeah.
And so just quickly, I was visiting family in the US when the earthquake
Yeah.
in Haiti happened. And I was also at that moment, I was also rethinking of what it is that I wanted to do. I had left Singapore and Burundi. That's another chapter. And I saw the images and there's just something inside of me. And I was like, I need to be there. I want to help. I want to help and I want to go there. And the circumstances just aligned themselves, the father doing what he does best. My mom happened to work there for the UN. And as a matter of fact, we were booking the flight. I was going to say hello to her when the earthquake happened. So I heard the earthquake on the phone and she
And
was
mom was
screaming.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was screaming on top. So I heard the noise and she was like, what is going on? And so I heard, and then so after that, the images came out, came through the TV, and that's when I saw the images and was like, oh my goodness, I have to go. I don't care, and mind you, I had been applying to different NGOs, and none of them had responded to me. So I decided to go, and I did not have a place to stay. My mom's house had been deemed uninhabitable, so we couldn't stay there. She didn't even know where she was gonna, where I was gonna spend the first night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyway, things worked out in the end, and 4 days later, I got a job. The Lord opened a door. I got a job, and I got a job with interaction, in coordination with the forum. It was an NGO forum doing advocacy and communications, which is something also I had done a little bit right after leaving Singapore. So I was working there were about 900, close to 1,000 NGOs
Yeah.
in Haiti.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew all of them, right? Because I was working for the IGVA Interaction Forum. And so every NGO that wanted to register, they would come to us, and so I knew the country director, the deputy, and the HR person. And so, and I remember after 5 months, I felt so strongly in my spirit, the Holy Spirit saying, okay, Rochelle, now you can pick whichever one you want. Well, 5 months later, none of these guys knew you and none of them wanted to hire you.
Yes, now you have the experience and now they know you.
And now I now have the role.
Wow. Look at that.
He works in mysterious ways.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so did you pick whichever one you wanted?
Of course it was. So I brought it down to two. It was Tier Fund and World Vision. And there was Med-Air as well. But yeah, those three. And of course I picked World Vision. Happened. It worked out well. And I knew, I met Ton, I met Suleiman, I met Tabani, I met you.
Right.
And the rest is history. And I spent, close to 8 years with them. Yeah.
Did you get interviewed for World Vision, by the way?
I did.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So a funny story that I shared in my last, take, where one of the listeners sent me a message, and they were like, "I know you. This is not what you asked for, but I have to tell you, I'm looking for incredible leaders," which is going to be my next question.
Ooh.
Is there anybody in that time in your 8 years at World Vision, or even now, ever since you joined the humanitarian field, who has been an incredible leader, who has who you would say is a great mindset leader, right? Think about that while I tell you the story. So he says to me, I went for a job interview with a faith-based organization and I was caught off guard. He says the interview was going really well. And then the next thing they asked me was, can you tell us about your walk with Jesus? And he says, I prepared. I was expecting to be asked about my skills, my competence, my my abilities to do this job.
Right.
And so he says, I was like, Jesus? Who? So, interview questions, where you ask that interview question and where you taken off.
So it's very interesting. I don't know if I was telling you this or I was telling somebody. I think the 8 years I spent with World Vision, I hardly had that question posed to me. So it's because they already knew. As I told you, I knew the country director, I knew the HR director, I knew the deputy, I knew so many people in World Vision.
Okay.
And faith transpires, of course I'd met Liz, so it wasn't even an issue.
Okay.
But in the application form, as you know, they ask you that question. So I went into great details as to what
Okay.
So yeah.
So you had already answered the question before it was ever asked.
Yeah.
Okay, now back to my leadership question.
That's a tough question. Within World Vision, I listened to Tabani's podcast and I loved it. Unfortunately, he didn't work in the same period, or if he did, it was probably at the tail end, but I don't remember him working in the hero office.
Okay.
He happened to be there for an inauguration of I think it was called FAMS. It was sort of like food assistance school, and it was the first one. So I happened to be the MC for that event, and he was the keynote speaker, and he was giving out certificates. So I had a brief interaction with him, and I think I told you, and I shared this with you, and I was so taken aback, first of all, by his humility, but also his gratitude, his spirit of gratefulness. I did something so meaningless, and he looked for me. He looked me up in LinkedIn or maybe on Skype, I don't remember, and he thanked me for the little gesture that I had done, and I was so amazed. I was like, wow. So when I listened to his podcast, I was like, you know what? This this is the kind of leader that you want. The leaders that are humble, the leaders that are grateful, and the leaders that actually do, the talk and
Yeah.
just talk the talk.
Mm,
And that to me is a representation of what our Messiah Yeshua is, right? He talked, but he also lived it. He walked.
mm.
So yeah, it's interesting because we didn't even work that closely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think
Mm.
for yeah, in World Vision at least.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll talk about your advocacy work. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is interesting. And then, yeah, we'll close off.
Okay, great.
This episode is brought to you by HUMHR, the boutique career and leadership consultancy helping professionals get clear, get confident, and get hired. From CV writing and Clifton Strengths coaching to interview prep and leadership development, HUMHR is here to help you take the next step in your career. Visit humhr.org to learn more. www.humhr.org. Welcome back, everyone. So I'm talking to my friend Rochelle. If you have not listened to the beginning, go back and start at the beginning. So Rochelle, I want to talk about advocacy. Yeah. So that is what you do now.
Mhm.
But you reminded me actually during the break that you actually did leave the humanitarian world at some point and you did public health. You actually went and studied and you have a master's in public health as well. So how was that short stint and what brought you back to the humanitarian world and advocacy?
So very briefly, I'm going to try to be brief.
Mm-hmm.
I was so after 8 years,
Mm.
after 8 years, I was a bit disenchanted with the humanitarian world. And I think I picked that up a little bit while listening to Ton's podcast. Some of the things especially in high level advocacy, I felt I wasn't doing anything anymore. Felt like the advocacy that I thought was going to help people that we had done in Mali, in the Congo, in Haiti, in Niger, wasn't doing it anymore, and it just was summarized to writing these reports and advocating for them at the UN level. And this was not for me. I was like, there's got to be something else to do for these children that are being exploited in these in these mines. There's got to be something more for me to do than just, And so I left a little bit disenchanted, disillusioned, and also maybe the setup. At that point, I was working for a global center, and I was working from home and in Canada, and it just wasn't fitting with who I am and just the outdoor type of person that I am. So I left, and I remember I was like, you know what? Another passion of mine is health. I love health. I love healthy eating, just anything that has to do with health. And I was like, you know what? I've always had this passion. But hey, I'm doing high level advocacy. How can I combine health and advocacy, which is something also that I used to do in Mali, in Congo, and Sudan, South Sudan, sorry. And so I was like, oh my goodness, public health, how come I'd never seen this before? Public health, this is perfect, right? We are talking about the health of populations at a macro level.
Yeah.
And this is what I want to do. I want to help people again, going back to wanting to help people. And so I joined. I finished, and towards the tail end, actually, no, 8 months within my master's, COVID hit. And so COVID hit, which was a good thing actually in hindsight. And it was all about COVID, and I started seeing things within the public health industry as well with big pharma. And I was absolutely surprised. And I was like, oh my goodness, no, 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 this is definitely not what when I didn't leave the humanitarian world to join again. Everything, even the research that you do, I mean, there's just so much that big pharma supports and pushes. There's so many hidden agendas. So I was like, oh gosh, okay, no. I'd rather go back within the humanitarian, at least,
and be disenchanted there.
and at least I'm closer to the people that I'm
Yes.
trying to help. So I went back and I had this tool that another friend of mine that I met in Haiti. Haiti has been such a turning point for so many of us, I think. And it's called Map My Life. I can't remember the name of the two ladies that wrote it, but you take your life and you map it. Of course, they have questions and all that. And I realized that one of the happiest moments in my career was when I was in Mali, of course Haiti a little bit, but Mali there was something that I was doing there that brought me back to the high level advocacy, but especially coordination, representation, and just being able to be on the ground, speaking, pushing, advocating for the most vulnerable, yeah. And I was like, this is great. This aligns not only with my values, but it also aligns with who I am. I am an outgoing person. I have great networking skills. I love speaking with people. I love speaking for people, which is why I ended up going in advocacy in the first place. So I said, yeah, let me try this. And I started looking, and would you believe it, within a few weeks, I started seeing all these positions open up. There was one in Nigeria, and one in Burkina Faso, one in South Sudan. Can't remember another one, and Mali. So I applied, and history. I ended up getting the one in Burkina Faso.
In Burkina Faso. So would you say, you mentioned, being disenchanted, which is one of the reasons why you left. There was no more inspiration, right? And but coming back was the inspiration from a previous role where you felt that you had the impact.
Yes.
And this was the high level advocacy aspect of it. So can you tell me, in terms of that high level advocacy, what sort of impact do you think that you had the time that you were doing this role in Mali? And this is what you do now.
Yeah.
This is what you do now. And what sort of impact do you think you have? And also,
And coordination.
and coordination. And is this your strength?
Yes.
Your happy place?
Yes. Happy place. I like that word. Yes. Yes. So just looking at what I was doing, I realized that I was using my skills. I was using my abilities. I was using who God had made me to be. So, and I always go back to Moses's mother. She was paid to do what she was naturally born to do. She was naturally born to nurse Moses, right? But she was paid by Pharaoh's daughter to nurse her own child. And this was such a joy. And on top of that, she was getting paid for it, right? Because she was, so I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. This is for me. It draws my skills, my talents, my abilities, and I'm being paid for it. And on top of that, I am helping. I'm doing what I was meant to do. Going back to one of the conversations that I had with you, was having a purpose-driven life.
Yes.
That is so important. Yes. And that has also always driven every single career move that I've had to do to this point. Is this within my purpose? I used to tell people, I don't work for money. I do not work for money. People, because I remember, especially Africans, they would say, oh no, Rochelle, you should join the UN. You would make so much money. You should join this and that. I'm like, but I don't work for money. Money does not drive me. I've done that, right? I don't, it's not, it doesn't mean that I'm spending on money. I want to be paid, of
Of
course,
course.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the main,
Yeah.
motivator.
Mm-hmm. What drives you is the
It's
purpose,
the purpose.
and then the money follows.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. This purpose, it's something that I really am stuck on.
Yeah.
I'm stuck on living your purpose.
Yes.
And which is why during my coaching programs, that is one of the first things we do, the purpose-driven life. We do that exercise, and we're like, what is your purpose?
That's right.
And that should be your driving force. And interesting enough, this is in his entrepreneurship as a career choice, and purpose is also the thing that drives people to, solving the problem, helping,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's what drives you to your entrepreneurship world.
That's
I want to help in such and such. And it's just really the foundation, finding that purpose. So I'm glad you found your purpose.
in this season.
In this season, yes, and there is seasons, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, Rochelle, I think I've taken enough of your time. I did ask for 45 minutes, isn't it? And I was like, no, Rochelle, actually 30 minutes because I was trying to get you.
You see, we've done like close to 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. 45 minutes. So, is there one thing that you would tell your first, actually, I want to find out about skills, right? In your finance, is there any skills that you learned in your finance world that you found helpful in your humanitarian world? So each time, would you say, I did this, oh my gosh, it was a waste of time? Or do you find that whatever it is you learned when you're a financial analyst in Wall Street has worked for you? You have continued to, those skills have been helpful in your humanitarian world.
I think hardworking.
Mm.
It's not a skill. It's more like, I don't know how you would qualify that, but being productive, or having goals and ensuring that you fulfill them, right?
Yeah.
And this is something. Another thing, but it's not so much for me, but I think it's one of those skills that is very much transferable. It's working with numbers, although for me, I'm not going to say it's something that I do a lot, but yeah, as a banker, if you have that, and you want to join the humanitarian world, that's perfect. You can work in M&E, monitoring and
Yeah.
evaluation. You can work in finance. You can work in programming. Yeah, and it's such an important skill because it's true. We talk about humanitarian work. We talk about helping people, but we need to get donors to give money, and for that you need to put together proposals. And so what I did as a banker, often we would put together pitches for clients, right? And you would do a nice PowerPoint, and so you had to convince your client or your potential client that they were much better off either divesting this unit or merging with so and so, or using debt
Yeah.
for buying more, whatever. And so, yeah, presentation skills, hardworking skills as well, knowing that, if you have a goal, then it needs to be done no matter what. If it means staying up all night, then you stay up all night. So that for me, yeah.
Yeah. So that, yeah, because in advocacy, yeah, you have the deadlines, right? Like I was speaking to you the other day, and you're saying, what, I had a deadline. I needed to submit a proposal.
Yes.
So, so those are skills. Yeah, those are transferable skills, and even the finance skills, like you're saying, you need the numbers.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Not so much for high level advocacy, but still, and also working with high level targets or advocacy targets. So, presentation skills, I think that's important. We spoke with clients, high level clients. These are the 500 Fortune companies that I worked with. And so, yeah, being able to speak clearly with with conviction.
Yeah.
Going back to advocacy, you need to have conviction. Yeah.
And you were advocating
And
for your,
of course,
yeah. Negotiation.
yeah.
Negotiation skills must be a big one
It's a
that you took
huge one.
that you took forward with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you wouldn't say even that was a waste of time.
Not at all. No. I think, we serve a father who is a redeemer. So he always redeems things that you might think that are just plain ashes that have just,
Yeah.
but no, he redeems that. He
Mm.
does, that's what he does best. I don't know how he does it, but yeah.
Mm.
So
Mm. I love your story. And I could go on forever, but
no, I'm
yes, yeah, I don't have that time. Um, in terms of your, how old were you when you were in Wall Street? 20 something?
I was 20, I had just turned 25.
25. Okay. What would you say right now to 25-year-old Rochelle? Is there anything that you would say to her right now?
Yes.
25-year-old Rochelle in Wall Street.
Yeah, on Wall Street, I think two things. First of all, be patient with yourself. I think, be patient with yourself. Know that, trust in the Lord. Remember going back to what we talked about, we
Yeah.
discussed, he is the anchor, and trusting him, right? Trusting him that he has the in French, they say le fil conducteur. So he's got the thread of your life,
Yeah.
and he knows where he's leading you. And the second thing I would say to myself is stop the negative self-talk. I think for me, that was a big one because, that was a big one. While I was there, working on Wall Street, not necessarily loving it, and I would just say, just constantly talking negatively over me, and I think that is destructive and not productive at all. And so yeah, I would focus more on that. I would tell her that.
How about that one person who is maybe thinking about leaving, right? Who is like in that, I am not happy here. This is not my purpose. I want to leave. And they are struggling to make that decision. What would you say to that person who may be listening right now? What would your advice be for making that decision?
So first of all, ensuring that this is something that you absolutely do not like and does not align with your values and your purpose. I think you have to have that clear, because sometimes you just go through tough times. Tough time does not mean it's not. When I arrived in Burkina Faso, the first year, first of all, I arrived a day before the coup. And so we had a good year of really it was difficult, right? But that does not mean, so ensuring that where you are right now is not in alignment with your purpose and your values. Once you know that, I think then ensuring that you have also things in line, your finances in line. I think all of this, I was able to do that because I was not in debt. I had cleared all my debt. And so that gave me flexibility to do what I wanted to do, right? And also having a little bit of savings. I think that is important, right? Because sometimes things don't happen right away. So ensure that you have 3, 4, I would say even 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months that you can, fine tune yourself and all that. And then the other thing is, don't be afraid to invest in yourself. And this is something that I've done consistently. People sometimes are afraid to go for a course and pay a little bit more money. But if you know that this is something that is going to get you to your purpose, do it. And this is what I did for Burkina Faso. I joined a high level professional sort of career, I guess, team, or I don't know how you would call her, and I paid big bucks for her, but I knew I knew it's because she was going to get me to where I wanted to be. So yeah, and I think once you know this, and of course, faith for me is
Is a
just the foundation. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found? I cannot let you go without this one question about gender. Because that's one of the things that you advocate for, anyways. Have you in any way found being a woman in the work that you do either an asset or a challenge, a liability? Yes, liability. You see, this is where your finance comes into it. Asset and liability.
That's right. I think I've found myself in both situations where it's been an asset. I think it definitely has been an asset. Yeah, for sure. But it has also been a liability, and I'll tell you why. And it goes back to the finance and Wall Street, which is sort of like a guy's club. And so sometimes, especially in the countries that we work in, they're very much the gender parity is not there. So you find yourself in a room. I'm thinking of Mali, for example, right? Mali is like, I would say, 90% male driven. Like the humanitarian workforce is male. So you always had that, it was sort of like a challenge, right? People would see you as something else.
Yeah.
And also going back to that all boys club, there are certain things that you can say or do, if a donor is male, there's just certain things that you just can't do as a woman. Yeah, and I think that even now, I think it's a bit of a challenge, right? Because you could do so much more if you were a man, right?
Got it.
Yeah. You especially not just a man, but also a man. Like I'm a Christian, right? I'm a believer, so there are certain things that I don't do. I don't go to bars. I don't drink.
Some of the negotiation is there.
Exactly. So yeah.
Some of the advocacy is there in places where you would not go.
Yeah. But I try, and the Lord has been really good in giving you favor as well, So yeah. But it's hard. It's harder, I should say. It's not hard. It's harder. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fire round questions.
Yeah.
I told you we were going to do some fun questions.
Okay.
Yeah. One word to describe your career journey so far.
Non-linear.
Yes, non-linear. You did say. Finance or humanitarian work, which one scared you more?
Finance.
A belief about success you've had to unlearn?
Making money.
A book, quote, or idea that shaped how you lead?
Well, two, I guess, but one, it would be the Bible, I think, and the second one is Leaning In. I can't remember her. Forgot her name. Cheryl something. Yeah. Yes, something. Yeah. Leadership. It goes back to what I said. It's about humility. It's about gratefulness. It's about showing the person what you need to do, what they need to do, instead of just barking and for me, humility is big, and I think that's something that is we see that in the Father, right? We see that in the Messiah. He is the most humble person, and yet he is the God of the universe, right?
Yes.
He created the heavens, the earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, and yet he's so humble. So I think for me, and he is a leader.
Oh yes, servant leadership.
Big.
That's where it comes from. It's termed. It gets a terminology.
Yeah.
Servant leadership.
That's right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it gets a terminology.
That's right. I heard that.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for me. I think those two books. More the Bible, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If your career journey were a song, what would that song be? If it were a song.
I surrender.
Ah. that note, thank you very much, Rochelle, for allowing me to have you on Human Career Insights. And yeah, I really loved our conversation, and I am so glad that we are doing a throwback. It was my favorite season. It was absolutely my favorite season, listening to the stories and so many lessons that you can get from a career story.
Yeah.
And yours has amazing lessons,
Thank
which
you.
I feel we did not. We were at the surface,
Mm.
But I am grateful for your time. Thank you very
so
much. And listeners, until next time. Oh, and watchers, until next time, stay inspired.